This is Armin from Leapfrog Fight TV. Charlie, we've known you for a while, but I haven't really had a chance to proper have a conversation with yourself. So I know you as a fighter, as a promoter rather than a boxer. But the more I get to know you, the more I kind of see that there's so many dimensions to what you bring, and it's quite impressive in terms of what you've done. So before we kick off, introduce yourself, Charlie. What are you like? What does Charlie Herdman do?
I am Charlie Herdman. My background is not in boxing, my background is in football. I played football for probably a half a dozen years, from the age of 6 to about the age of 12. Football was the only thing I ever done. And it wasn't until I was released from West Bromwich Albion and Birmingham, which I sort of quit football and went into boxing. And I sort of got off in the white collar scene, had a couple of fights, and then wanted to put on my own shows.
It's like a bit of a jump, though, isn't it? From football to boxing, it's not like a natural progression there.
I was a keeper, so gloves and gloves.
Gloves and gloves, like how that goes. So what was it about boxing that attracted you? How did you get into the boxing side of it?
It was actually my dad. He fought on a charity boxing show. I done a bit of training with him, as he done the training with it, and I just enjoyed it. I like, in the nicest way possible, I like punching people.
So how many fights? What's your record like?
So I've only fought 4 times actually. 4 fights, 4 wins. I have got my 5th fight scheduled for October the 22nd. I want to keep active as possible in the next couple of years. I took a lot of time off during COVID in whilst promoting, and I want to get back into it.
So there's something that has to be said about your age, right? Because you're probably the youngest promoter that I've ever worked with. I didn't realise how young you were until obviously we started doing stuff together.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? You're young, there's things you want to do in your life, plus boxing, plus this. How do you balance all of that?
I'm very business first type of guy. I'd much rather be building a brand and building a company, building a worth, rather than partying every weekend. So for me, the balance, only for the last year, was school, but now I've left it. I'm pretty much 100% focused on this.
Okay. How does this work with your fight game? Because promoting in itself is a whole different type of headache in terms of organising and all the rest of it. How does that balance with you actually being a fighter as well?
Well, it's difficult because being a promoter, lots of things, it's very volatile. Things can change very quickly, and it's hard to build a routine of training around it. So it is hard promoting and fighting at the same time. But if you look at guys like Jake Paul, like KSI, who fight and promote, they can do it successfully, so why can't I?
Yeah. Is it not tough, because one of the questions that I had coming into this, right, because you're fighting on the 22nd of October, you've got a really good card coming up here. Is there not fighters on this card that at some point you want to fight? Do you know what I mean? Is there a bit of conflict of interest there, a little bit? Do you know what I mean?
I guess it all depends on how many tickets they sell. No, in all seriousness, I only work with fighters which I get on well with. Yeah. Would I never fight them? No. I depending on the opponent, depending on the person, depending on the circumstances, I would, looking at fighting within the promotion. But I guess it would have to be the right type of person.
But I think it's the sport as well, isn't it? Because there's not malice in it, if you get where I'm coming from. So you have your fight, and then your mates afterwards. Do you see where I'm coming from? I think a lot of people don't really realise that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, you've got the press conferences like this where there's a lot of tension, a lot of drama, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of pushing and shoving and trash talking. But I can almost guarantee you that at the end of the night, after the 3, 4, 5, 8 rounds of war, they're going to be close mates. They're going to have a drink after together. They're going to chat and socialise. They're going to train together.
So obviously you're a youngster as well, right? And I kind of want your view on terms of boxing for your young athletes that are coming from your schools and your colleges. Obviously there's a lot of shit going around.
Yeah.
So I very much would like to know, because you're on 2 sides of it. You're on as a promotional side of it, and you're on as a fighter side of it. What is the impact to boxing to the youth, should we say?
It gets. I think I've seen it sort of firsthand when I first started boxing at the local amateur gym. It's gotten a lot of younger people, sort of early teenagers, out of the streets, out of gangs, out of drugs, out of these horrible situations where they're doing stuff which a 13, 14-year-old shouldn't do, and they're then joining these boxing gyms. They're enjoying it. They're learning discipline, which is probably the most important part. And then as they progress, we're hopefully going to get them in the show.
So tell me a little bit about your future. Where do you see yourself going? Because you obviously have your boxing career.
Mm-hmm.
You're very dedicated to it. You obviously have your promotion, which you're very dedicated to it. Where do those two go? Where do you see your boxing career going over the next couple of years? And where do you see Champions Boxing going over the next few years?
I want to promote the business more than myself as a fighter, so I will, if at any point I do have to make the decision of is it boxing for myself or boxing for the CBL, I will always choose the CBL. But in terms of the future of the business, next year I'm looking to do a show every single month. So from February to November, I want to get a show every month. I want to tap into international markets. I've already got a contact in Marbella that we're looking at doing a show next year. We're going not just in the Midlands, we've got the London shows lined up in October, and then hopefully throughout the whole of next year. So it's just expanding the business. I'd like to get it to a point where it's a brand that's recognisable to the names of the professional, because it's white collar, because it's semi-pro, whatever you call it. It has a lot of like negative perception of it. So I want to turn that negative perception into something positive, and I want the brand to be recognised with some of the bigger names out there.
Excellent. How does Champions Boxing compare to other boxing shows? I don't mean to say trash talk them, but what sets you apart? Why is your approach different to a lot of the other shows out there? Because it is significantly different how you're approaching this.
Right. I probably because of my age, I see the use of social media, and I want to take advantage of it. So doing these media days, doing the press conferences, getting the influencer boxes on, just promoting the brand in a social aspect is and the production. I think that's what sets me apart to most of the other promotional companies that will just sort of put together a card on Facebook. They'll put a couple of posters out, and on the day they'll turn up and it'll be a bang average show. I want to create the experience for the fans and also the boxers.
Excellent. So this show coming up on the 2nd of September, we're going to do the press conference shortly when everyone arrives. So 2nd of September, this kicks off. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Give me 3 fights that fight fans should be looking forward to on the 2nd of September.
Number 1, 100%, Jay Malley versus Robbie Warner. It's 8 rounds of war. Robbie just went 19-0 the last weekend. Robbie's an ex-amateur boxer. He's a Midlands area champion in amateur boxing. It's going to be a clash of styles. Robbie's very much more technical. Jay's a lot more come forward and aggressive. But with 8 rounds in 10-ounce gloves, it's going to be exciting.
Jay's 19-0 as well, is he not?
Jay's 19-0, yeah.
Both of them. That's going to be a good one.
It really is,
definitely.
Yeah.
Could you guess? Would you want to put it, or you're going to put your promoter hat on and say, I don't know?
I'm not going to say, I think he's going to win, I think he's going to win. But it comes down to who puts more effort into training. Because they're so similar in their ability and, in their ability, it's going to come down to who trains hardest. And we're going to see on September 2nd. And I don't want to say I think one's going to do better than the other, because very, very easily a punch can change things.
It's very, very good diplomatic answer there. Go for it. Go. Give me another fight that you should be looking out for.
I'm definitely looking forward to Bailey versus Nabil. They've got a lot of social media fans combined. It's about 2 million or so. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of people watching. And I know when there's a lot of people watching, especially when there's a lot of your fans watching, you don't want to make a tit of yourself. Hopefully they're both training as hard as they can do. Hopefully they're coming to leave it all out in the ring. And I'm sure that's going to be a war as well.
How do you see that one going? Because, Bailey doesn't post much of his training footage.
Right.
And when he does post his training footage, it's not at the highest level, let's be honest, right? Do you think that's intentional? Because he doesn't want to give that game away? Because I kind of feel that from him. He seems very confident. So it seems like he's more not putting out his real footage. rather than it being this is the best I am.
Yeah, I definitely there's an aspect of that. I mean, why would you put out the best footage of you for your opponent to analyse every second of the day? You want to keep an element of surprise, and I think that's the technique that he's trying to use. And hopefully, it's going to be quite effective to make it quite an interesting fight.
Excellent, excellent. So that's two. One more. Give me
One more. I've got to go for Hussam Mahmood versus Daniel Corse. Hussam, he's got a good amateur record. I think he's had like 23, 24 amateur fights, winning well the majority of them. I saw him fight in a show in Leeds. I was very, very impressed. That's how I got in contact with him. He's a very explosive fighter. He's strong, he's powerful, he's going to bring the pressure. And Daniel, he's a warrior, he's a war horse. He's fought on loads of other big promotions. He fought on Ginger Dingers. He's fought on a lot of other local shows as well in Birmingham. He brings a good crowd. He brings good energy. He's powerful. He's got a great chin. He keeps on coming forward. And he's just a warrior all round. So I reckon that's also going to be a contender of fight of the night.
Excellent. So before we end this, Charlie, who's helped you get to where you are right now? Who's helped you with this show, your fight game and everyone? Basically, who you want to shout out?
First of all, I want to shout out to Leapfrog Fight TV. Amir and Alex, they come out to the media days, they come out to the press conferences, they help promote. I've been approached by many streaming platforms saying, yeah, we'll do this deal, we'll get you X amount of thousand pay-per-view buyers, but none of them offer the same personal connection as what Leapfrog Fight TV do. So shout out to you guys.
Thank you.
And then of course shout out to all of the helpers, my family, my mum, my dad, my aunties, my uncles, that always come before the show and help me set up, moving a 3-ton ring in and out of the garages. They're doing the ticketing, they're doing the timekeeping, they're helping out behind the scenes, especially in the first couple of shows where, I'll be honest, I didn't have an absolute clue what I was doing. They were there helping me out, so I want to give a shout out to them as well.
Excellent. Charlie, we look forward to what's coming from you on the 2nd of September and then on the 22nd of September, 2nd of October.
Yeah.
And we're excited to work with you, and I'm genuinely quite excited to work with yourself. So, yeah, take care. Thank you for letting us be part of this journey.
Of course. Thank you for being a part of it.
Cheers, man.